Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that happens to all of us every single day. We ask questions and we answer questions. From the moment we wake up until we go to bed, our lives are full of questions. But have you ever stopped to think about how many questions you actually use in one day? I'm talking about the simple, everyday questions that we ask without even thinking about them. I was having coffee with my friend yesterday, and she asked me, "What time is it?" And then I realized, wow, we ask so many questions every day, but we never really pay attention to them. So today, I want to explore this with you. We're going to look at all the different types of questions we use in our daily conversations, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll start noticing how many questions you ask and hear every single day. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you find this video helpful, and if you're enjoying these real conversations in English, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel reach more English learners like you. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, what's the most common question you ask every day? Is it "What time is it?" Or maybe, "How are you?" I read every comment, and I love learning about your experiences with English. And if you're new here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe because we upload new English learning content every single day. All right, let's start with the very beginning of our day. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first question that comes to your mind? For me, it's usually "What time is it?" I reach for my phone, and there it is, the time staring back at me. But think about it, this is probably one of the most common questions in the entire world. People ask this question in every language, in every country, every single day. But morning questions don't stop there. If you live with family or roommates, you might ask, "Did you sleep well?" Or "How did you sleep?" This is such a caring question, isn't it? It shows that we care about the people around us. Sometimes the answer is "Great, thanks," and sometimes it's "Not so good, I kept waking up." These simple questions help us connect with each other every morning. And then there are the practical morning questions. What's the weather like today? This one is so important because it helps us decide what to wear. I remember last week, I looked outside and it looked sunny, so I wore a light jacket. But I didn't check the weather app, and it turned out to be much colder than I thought. Now I always ask, "What's the temperature today?" before I leave the house. Breakfast time brings its own set of questions. What do you want for breakfast? Do we have any coffee left? Where did I put my keys? Oh, that last one, I ask that question almost every morning. Keys have this magical ability to disappear, don't they? Sometimes they're in my jacket pocket, sometimes on the kitchen counter, sometimes in the most random places. My neighbor's name was Sarah, and she once told me she found her keys in the refrigerator. Can you believe that? In the refrigerator. We laughed about it for weeks. Now let's talk about questions we ask when we're getting ready to leave the house. Do I have everything? Where's my phone? Did I lock the door? These questions are like a mental checklist. They help us make sure we don't forget anything important. And speaking of phones, isn't it funny how we can have our phone right in our hand, but we still ask, "Where's my phone?" I do this all the time. When we leave the house, we enter a world full of questions. If you take public transportation, you might ask, "Is the bus on time?" Or "Which platform is the train on?" If you drive, you might ask yourself, "Should I take the highway or the back roads?" These questions help us navigate our day and make decisions. At work or school, the questions multiply. How was your weekend? This is probably the most popular Monday morning question in offices around the world. People love to share their weekend stories. Some people went hiking, some people stayed home and watched movies, some people visited family. It's a great way to start the week and connect with colleagues. Then there are the work-related questions. What's on the agenda for today? Do you have a minute to talk? Can you help me with this? These questions keep our work life organized and help us collaborate with others. I remember when I started my first job, I was so nervous about asking questions. I thought people would think I didn't know what I was doing. But then my supervisor told me something I'll never forget. She said, "The only stupid question is the one you don't ask." From that day on, I felt much more comfortable asking for help when I needed it. Lunchtime brings a whole new category of questions. What are you having for lunch? Want to grab something together? Is there a good restaurant around here? Food questions are universal, aren't they? No matter where you are in the world, people are always talking about food and asking about food. It's one of those things that brings people together. I have a funny story about lunch questions. Last month, I was working late, and around 2 p.m., my stomach started growling. I turned to my coworker and asked, "Did you eat lunch yet?" She looked at me with this confused expression and said, "It's 2 p.m., of course I ate lunch." I had been so focused on my work that I completely lost track of time. Sometimes questions help us realize things about ourselves, like the fact that we've been working for 6 hours straight without eating. Afternoon questions at work might include things like, "How's that project coming along?" Or "Do you need any help?" Or "What time is the meeting?" These questions keep us connected to our work and our colleagues. They help us stay organized and productive. And then there are the questions we ask ourselves throughout the day. Should I take a break? Am I drinking enough water? What should I do after work? These internal questions are just as important as the ones we ask out loud. They help us take care of ourselves and plan our time. Now, let's talk about shopping questions. Whether you're at the grocery store, a clothing store, or shopping online, questions are everywhere. How much does this cost? Do you have this in a different size? Where can I find the milk? Is this on sale? These questions help us make decisions about what to buy and how to spend our money. I love grocery store questions because they're so practical. Do we need eggs? How many apples should I get? Is this tomato ripe? These questions help us shop efficiently and make sure we get what we need. My friend's name was Lisa, and she always made a list before going to the grocery store. But even with a list, she would call her husband and ask, "Do we have enough bread?" Or "Should I get the large or small container of yogurt?" Shopping questions never end. Evening questions are different from morning questions. When you get home from work or school, you might ask, "How was your day?" This is such a wonderful question because it invites people to share their experiences. Sometimes the answer is exciting, "I got a promotion." Sometimes it's frustrating, "Traffic was terrible today." Sometimes it's simple, "It was okay, nothing special." But asking this question shows that you care about the people in your life. Dinner questions are similar to lunch questions, but they often involve more planning. What should we make for dinner? Do we have ingredients for pasta? Should we order takeout? What do you feel like eating? These questions help families and friends decide how to spend their evening mealtime together. And then there are the evening entertainment questions. What should we watch tonight? Do you want to go for a walk? Should we call your parents? What time should we go to bed? These questions help us plan our free time and decide how to relax after a long day. Weekend questions are some of my favorites because they're often about fun activities and relaxation. What should we do this weekend? Do you want to go to the park? Should we invite friends over? What movie should we watch? Do you want to try that new restaurant? These questions help us make the most of our free time. I remember one Saturday morning, my sister called me and asked, "Want to go hiking today?" I looked outside, and it was such a beautiful day. I said yes, and we had the most amazing hike. Sometimes the best adventures start with a simple question. That's the power of questions. They can change our entire day or even our mood. Now, let's talk about questions we ask when we meet new people. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do for work? How do you know mutual friends' name? These questions help us get to know people and start conversations. They're like building blocks for relationships. But meeting new people can also involve more specific questions depending on the situation. At a party, you might ask, "How do you know the host?" At a work event, you might ask, "What department do you work in?" At a coffee shop, you might ask, "Is this seat taken?" These questions help us navigate social situations and make connections. Phone conversations have their own set of questions too. Can you hear me okay? Is this a good time to talk? How's everything going? What's new with you? Phone questions often start with checking the connection and then move into catching up with the person. And don't forget about the questions we ask when we're planning things. What time works for you? Where should we meet? How long will it take? Should we make a reservation? What's the weather forecast? These planning questions help us organize our social lives and make sure everything goes smoothly. Technology has also given us new questions. What's the Wi-Fi password? Can you send me that link? Did you see my message? Is your phone working? Do you have a charger? These modern questions didn't exist 20 years ago, but now they're part of our daily vocabulary. Shopping questions have evolved with technology too. Is this available for pickup? Can I return this online? What's the shipping cost? Do you have this in stock? These questions help us navigate both online and in-store shopping experiences. Health and wellness questions are becoming more common too. Did you drink enough water today? How many steps did you walk? What time did you go to bed? Are you feeling stressed? These questions show that we're paying more attention to our physical and mental health. Transportation questions vary depending on where you live and how you get around. Is there traffic? What time does the bus come? Do you need a ride? Where did you park? Is there construction on that route? These questions help us plan our travel and get from place to place efficiently. Weather questions are universal and timeless. Is it going to rain? How hot is it outside? Should I bring a jacket? What's the forecast for tomorrow? Weather affects so many of our decisions, so it makes sense that we ask about it constantly. Family questions are special because they show love and care. How was school today? Did you finish your homework? Are you feeling better? Do you need anything from the store? What time will you be home? These questions help families stay connected and take care of each other. Let's talk about questions we ask when we're learning something new. How do you pronounce this word? What does this mean? Can you explain that again? Where can I find more information? Who can help me with this? Learning questions are so important because they help us grow and understand the world better. And there are questions we ask when we're in trouble or need help. Can you help me? Do you know how to fix this? Where's the nearest hospital? What should I do? Who should I call? These questions can be really important in difficult situations. Travel questions are exciting because they often lead to adventures. How do I get to the airport? What terminal is my flight? Do I need to show my passport? Where's the baggage claim? How much is a taxi to downtown? What's the best way to get around the city? These questions help us navigate new places and have great experiences. Restaurant questions are fun because they're about enjoying food and spending time with others. Do you have a table for two? What do you recommend? Is this spicy? Can I have the check, please? Do you take credit cards? These questions help us have good dining experiences. Exercise and fitness questions are becoming more popular as people focus on healthy living. Want to go to the gym together? How many reps should I do? What's a good workout for beginners? How often should I exercise? What's the best time to work out? These questions help us stay healthy and motivated. Hobby questions are wonderful because they're about things we enjoy. Do you play any instruments? What kind of books do you like? Have you seen any good movies lately? Do you like to cook? What's your favorite sport? These questions help us discover common interests with others. Now, I want to talk about something really interesting. Have you noticed that different cultures ask different types of questions? In some cultures, people ask very direct questions. In others, people ask more indirect questions. In some places, it's normal to ask personal questions when you first meet someone. In other places, personal questions come much later in the relationship. For example, in American culture, it's very common to ask, "What do you do for work?" when you first meet someone. But in some other cultures, this might be considered too personal for a first meeting. Understanding these cultural differences can help us communicate better with people from different backgrounds. There are also questions that are specific to certain situations or professions. Teachers ask, "Do you understand?" And any questions? Doctors ask, "Where does it hurt?" And how long have you been feeling this way? Salespeople ask, "What are you looking for today?" And would you like to try this on? Each profession has its own set of common questions. Let's talk about questions children ask. Kids are naturally curious, and they ask the most wonderful questions. Why is the sky blue? How do birds fly? Where do babies come from? What happens when we die? Children's questions remind us to stay curious about the world around us. They ask questions that adults sometimes forget to ask. I babysit my neighbor's daughter sometimes. Her name was Emma, and she's 5 years old. The questions she asks are amazing. Last week she asked me, "Why do we have to sleep?" I had never really thought about it from her perspective. I explained that sleep helps our bodies and brains rest and grow. But her question made me realize how much we take for granted as adults. Seasonal questions change throughout the year. In spring, we might ask, "When will the flowers bloom?" In summer, "Is it too hot to go outside?" In fall, "When do the leaves change color?" In winter, "Do you think it will snow?" These questions connect us to the natural world and the changing seasons. Holiday questions are special because they're often about spending time with family and friends. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Are you traveling for Christmas? What's your New Year's resolution? Do you have plans for the weekend? These questions help us plan celebrations and connect with the people we care about. Emergency questions are important to know, even though we hope we never need them. Are you okay? Do you need help? Should I call 911? Where's the nearest exit? Is anyone hurt? These questions can be lifesavers in dangerous situations. Money questions are practical and important. How much does this cost? Do you have change for a 20? What's your budget for this? Is this a good deal? How much should I tip? These questions help us manage our finances and make smart spending decisions. Let's talk about polite questions. These are questions that show respect and consideration for others. May I help you? Would you mind if I sat here? Could you please pass the salt? Is it okay if I open the window? These questions make our interactions more pleasant and respectful. And there are questions we ask when we're confused or need clarification. What do you mean? Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, what did you say? Could you speak more slowly? How do you spell that? These questions help us understand each other better, especially when we're learning a new language. Time questions are everywhere in our daily lives. What time is it? How long will this take? When does the store close? What time should we leave? Are we running late? Time questions help us stay organized and on schedule. Direction questions are essential when we're trying to get somewhere. Where is the bathroom? How do I get to Main Street? Is this the right way? Which way is north? Can you show me on the map? These questions help us navigate the world around us. Permission questions are polite and necessary. May I use your phone? Is it okay if I park here? Can I borrow your pen? Would it be all right if I left early? Do you mind if I turn up the music? These questions show respect for others and their belongings. Preference questions help us make decisions and understand what people like. What's your favorite color? Do you prefer tea or coffee? Which movie do you want to see? Would you rather walk or drive? What kind of music do you like? These questions help us get to know people better and make choices together. Confirmation questions make sure we understand correctly. Did you say Tuesday or Thursday? Is your phone number 555 to 1234? So we're meeting at 3 p.m., right? You want the large size, correct? Is this the right address? These questions prevent misunderstandings and mistakes. And finally, let's talk about the most important question of all. How are you? This simple question is probably asked millions of times every day around the world. It's a way of showing that we care about each other. Sometimes the answer is I'm fine, thanks. Sometimes it's I'm having a tough day. Sometimes it's I'm fantastic. But asking this question creates a moment of human connection. The beautiful thing about questions is that they bring people together. They start conversations, they show interest, they demonstrate care. Questions help us learn, grow, and connect with others. They're one of the most powerful tools we have for communication. I want you to try something. For the next week, pay attention to all the questions you ask and hear. Count them if you want to. I bet you'll be surprised by how many questions are part of your daily life. And remember, every question is an opportunity to learn something new or connect with someone. Questions are also powerful for English learners. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you don't understand something. Native speakers ask questions all the time, so you should too. Questions like, what does that word mean? Or, can you say that again? Or, how do you pronounce this? Are perfectly normal and helpful. In fact, asking questions is one of the best ways to improve your English. When you ask questions, you're actively participating in the language. You're not just listening or reading, you're engaging. And when people answer your questions, you learn new vocabulary, new expressions, and new ways of saying things. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I was so afraid to ask questions because I thought my pronunciation was terrible. But my Spanish teacher told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Your questions are more important than your pronunciation. If you don't ask, you'll never learn." That advice changed everything for me. So to all the English learners watching this, please ask questions. Ask questions in the comments below. Ask questions to your English-speaking friends. Ask questions to your teachers. Ask questions to yourself. Questions are the key to learning and growing. And to everyone else, remember that questions are a gift. When someone asks you a question, they're giving you an opportunity to share your knowledge, your experience, your thoughts. Answer with patience and kindness, especially when someone is learning English as a second language. Before we finish, I want to ask you some questions. What was your favorite type of question that we talked about today? What questions do you ask most often in your daily life? Are there any questions you're afraid to ask? What questions would you like to ask me? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today's video about all the questions we use every day. I hope this has made you more aware of how important questions are in our daily communication. Remember, questions connect us, they help us learn, and they make our conversations more interesting and meaningful. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We create new English learning content every day, and I'd love to have you as part of our learning community. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep learning. See you in the next video.